everyone, I'm Moon Spirit and welcome to the Moon Spirit Experience. What is the show about, you ask? Well, I review video games whether they should be experienced or not. I will tell you guys how the game is told, designed, and played. And, you know, the usual. So to best showcase my show, I want to review one of my favorite video games of all time, BioShock. BioShock was the spiritual successor to Irrational Games' cult classic hit, System Shock 2. BioShock took many elements from that game and has become one of the most acclaimed games of the last generation. Believe it or not, this game changed me due to the game's usage of Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism, and it got me interested in reading her books, and this is coming from a guy who hardly reads actual books. Now before I get into my review, let me explain how my rating system works. I am going to rate the games whether they are good, bad, or just okay. But just saying that would be just way too generic. So instead, I am going to rate them by analogizing with the game. So, should you dive in, test the waters, or is this game just a beached whale? Well, let's find out. This is BioShock. It is 1960 and you play a plane crash survivor named Jack. Upon reaching the surface, you happen to be near a lighthouse. After going inside, you stumble into a bathysphere and find yourself in the underwater city of Rapture. Upon arrival, you realize the city is under a civil war and plagued by splicers, who are the twisted, mangled citizens of Rapture who have been corrupted by a genetic substance called Adam. With the help from an Irish citizen of Rapture named Atlas, you traverse this aquatic metropolis to find your way back up to the surface. But along the way, you run into Andrew Ryan, the man that created this city, and he will stop at nothing to kill you. Why? Because he believes you are a spy of the CIA or KGB, but I'd say he has a very bad case of cabin fever. Along the way, you'll come across the citizens of Rapture that has survived the Civil War. Dr. Steinman, a plastic surgeon who has a pretty grotesque and warped idea of beauty. Bridget Tenenbaum is the lead scientist who discovered Adam and created the Little Sisters. A paranoid man named Peach Wilkins who is fearful about his old boss Fontaine, who seems to be a criminal underworld leader of Rapture before his death. Senator Cohen is the head artist of Rapture who forces you to help create his masterpiece of death. And that's just naming a few because you'll come across audio diaries that tell you more about some of the other citizens of Rapture. But if you want the real story behind BioShock's lore, there is a book on sale entitled BioShock Rapture, which serves as the prequel to the story. I've read it once and this is definitely meant for the hardcore fans, which is to say it is okay at best. At least for me. Remember, I'm a gamer, not a bookworm. I have played this game several times, yet I always get goosebumps when I see the city. As you can tell, Rapture is completely decked out with architecture of beautiful Art Deco buildings that drew inspiration from the skyscrapers of New York City. Hell, one level called Fort Frolic looks like an indoor Times Square with a bit of Atlantic City. But that is where the splendor fades away as the interior is filled with piles of rubble, puddles of seawater leaking out of the walls and ceilings. Everywhere you go, you find places that definitely look like it was a booming economy with the docks, the markets, and even their own gardens of Arcadia. It's such a shame to see such a wonderful city become like this before it went to hell. While the city itself looks magnificent, the citizens are downright ugly. Upon closer look, you can tell how far gone they are from their humanity after being spliced up. Except for this spectacular display of the Unreal Engine. As you explore the city, you'll come across some ghostly apparitions roaming around, which gives off a feeling of paranormal activity. You will also encounter many security robots spread throughout the city who serve as the eyes and arms of Rapture. But the Big Daddy is the poster child of the game, and their job is to protect these little girls called the Little Sisters. There are two versions of them, Rosie, which are more for ranged combat, and the Bouncer, the brawler of the two, and they are both built tough so the Little Sisters can do their job. The Little Sisters are the gatherers of Adam, and they are pretty creepy with their glowy yellow eyes. Put them together, they can be as scary as the twins from The Shining. The funny thing is, they already had t-shirts for that, and I own one. The music of this game is also excellent, all thanks to the orchestrations by Gary Scheinman. The opening symphony, as you first lay your eyes on Rapture, brings the spectacle of this city's grandeur as it crescendos into your view. Through many of the songs in the soundtrack, there are strings of the violins giving off the sense of dread that lurks this city, and the grace that has faded from it as well. As you explore the city, there will also be musical set pieces from days of old, scattered in the denizens of the ruins from music in the 40s. And it can give a pretty unsettling vibe when you're looking at the shops of Rapture. The voice acting is also pretty damn good. From hearing the audio logs of the city to listening to the maddening sounds of the splicers, the game features a very diverse set of characters. Here's where I start to talk about some of the citizens of Rapture. Dr. Suchong is the head scientist and doctor of Rapture, who helped create the plasmids in the market, though as you can tell from his portrait in his audio logs, he's got a bloodstain on it to tell you what his personality is like. That, or you find out he literally got screwed by a big daddy later in the game. Mcdonough is the contractor of the city with a Cockney accent that impressed Andrew Ryan so much to become his best friend. Sullivan is the head of Rapture's law enforcement that tries to fight against Fontaine's gang, but to no avail. But the real breadwinner here is Andrew Ryan, and his performance is superb. You can feel his charisma from his monologues he makes and how stern he is about his ideas. To get a good feel about his character, here's one of his excerpts in the audio diaries.
I believe in no God, no invisible man in the sky. But there is something more powerful than each of us, a combination of our efforts, a great chain of industry that unites us. But it is only when we struggle in our own interest that the chain pulls society in the right direction. The chain is too powerful and too mysterious for any government to guide. Any man who tells you different either has his hand in your pocket or a pistol to your neck.
Hey, he may be a villain, but you know that is true. The game plays as a standard first-person shooter, but you technically can wield two types of weapons, guns on the right and plasmids on the left. The HUD on the upper left indicates your health and Eve, which Eve will serve as the game's version of mana. Throughout the game, you can loot many items such as money, food, and drinks, but be careful when taking too much alcohol, as drinking too much will make you, well, intoxicated. You can buy items like first aid and ammo off of the Circus of Values and Ammo Bandito vending machines. And you can also heal yourself at first aid stations as well, if you are running out of first aid kits. Later on in the game, several miscellaneous items can be picked up for building materials for the U-Invent machines, where you can use 3 items to create special ammo or items. The real highlight of the game is of course the plasmids, which can be gained by retrieving Adam. To do that, you have to fight the Big Daddy in order to take the Adam from the Little Sisters, either by saving them or killing them. Take note of how you get the Adam because it affects the ending of the story. Adam becomes the currency to buy new plasmids throughout the game that gives you special abilities. You can fire lightning, freeze your enemies, burn them with a snap of a finger, use telekinesis, and even unleash a swarm of bees. But the plasmids can be used in more effective ways, like Electrobolt, which can instantly kill your enemies if on water and open malfunctioning doors, or Incinerate, which can melt icy blockades and set fire to oily trails.
Looks kind of flammable! Flammable! Oh, I like flammable.
There are also tonics, which are passive plasmids that are divided into 3 categories: combat, engineering, and physical. Combat helps you with your fights, like Electric Flesh, which gives you more resistance to electricity and electrocutes your enemies when you get hit. Engineering helps you with fights against machines, or hacking, which I will get to later. Physical helps with your physical capabilities like better armor, more recovery from health kits, and finding more loot. And you can change all your plasmids and tonics however you want when you utilize the gene banks. You also acquire a research camera that analyzes your enemy's DNA in order to exploit any weaknesses. But just taking a photo doesn't quite cut it, because depending on how well you take the picture, you gain experience based on the picture. So to get the best out of your photography, you get bonus points if you catch action shots and if you have multiple enemies on the photograph. For every level gain, you gain some bonuses like new tonics or plasmids or being able to deal more damage to your enemies. For example, you can increase the chances of a Nitro Splicer's grenade to be a dud, or making it easier to locate a Houdini Splicer when he teleports, or taking a Spider Splicer's organ as a health kit. As for me, I always take pictures of my enemies when they attack me to get the best bonuses. Though it may be awkward, it's worth all those pictures.
Freeze frame, freeze frame, freeze frame.
As mentioned before, you'll come across audio diaries that not only serve as the backstory of the game, but also lets you get to know the citizens of Rapture a lot better. Some are sad, like a mom and dad discovering the sad truth about their daughter. Some are creepy, like hearing about Dr. Steinman's idea of beauty. And some are, well, just listen to this poem by Sander Cohen.
The Wild Bunny by Sander Cohen. I want to take the ears off, but I can't. I hop, and when I hop, I never get off the ground. It's my curse, my eternal curse. I want to take the ears off, but I can't. It's my curse. It's my fucking curse. I want to take the ears off. Please, take them off. Please.
Dude, what was he smoking? No, seriously, what's he smoking? I want some of that, man. You can also upgrade your plasmids, tonics, and weapons as you traverse the city. Gatherer's Garden is the place to shop for new plasmids and tonics as you accumulate more Atom. With your upgrades, it can be seen clearly how your plasmids evolve, like Electrobolt, showing your hand getting more electrical to the point of showing electrical arcs coming out of your fingertips. Incinerate gives off a small flame off the tip of your fingertips until it turns into a blue flame. Weapons can be upgraded with Power to the People stations, which give each of your weapons 2 enhancements, and finding all of them nets you an achievement. Speaking of Power to the People stations, here's one that can be hard to miss if you're not too careful. After meeting Sander Cohen in Fort Frolic, do not kill him, because you will later meet him again in his apartment later in the game. When entering Sander Cohen's apartment, coax him out so you can kill him. After you do that, steal his key and head back to Fort Frolic to get his treasure. But when I decided to destroy his art, he came back from the dead to kill me, so I could kill him again. This man truly loves his art to death. Hacking machines is abundant, from vending machines to the security robots, but remember to stun the security machinations with Electrobolt or Winter Blast so they can be hackable. With hacking, you can make the security machines work for you, vending machines can give you discounts on some inaccessible items, and first aid stations can be used as traps against your enemies. To hack, it's like the old game called Pipe Dream, where you must guide a liquid through a system of pipes into the end. The problem is that you'll be doing a lot of hacking throughout the game, which becomes really redundant over time. Luckily, you can bypass the process with automatic hack tools or buying your way out. But there are also some doors with numbered locks that you can unlock if you look in the right places for clues. One final point to make. If you die at any point in the game, you will be revived in the game's respawn station, the Vita Chamber. There is a flaw with this mechanic, for every time you do respawn after fighting your enemies, they still retain their health, which makes the challenge of the game a bit dampened. The game did come with a patch that you can deactivate the Vita Chambers for a bigger challenge, to which if you die, you have to restart at your last save point. After breaking through Andrew Ryan's defenses, you finally come face to face with the man himself. But he activates the self-destruct sequence. As you enter his office, you'll see a wall scrawled with pictures depicting some sort of web of conspiracy, connecting it all to you. There's also a phrase scribbled in bright red on the wall saying, "Would you kindly?" But the next moment becomes one of the most memorable moments in gaming history as Andrew Ryan sermons you. Remember the words, "Would you kindly?" It turns out your actions were not yours to begin with, as Jack was used as a puppet by Atlas to do his bidding whenever that phrase is said. What? Don't believe me? Here's a counter of all the times he said that phrase.
Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio? Now, would you kindly find a crowbar or something? Careful now. Would you kindly lower that weapon for a minute? Would you kindly leg it over to the sphere and get on down to Hephaestus? Now, would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
A man chooses. A slave obeys.
It is then that Andrew Ryan takes advantage of your newly discovered brainwashing, only to use it to force you to kill him against your own will, further cementing who truly is the man and who is the slave. After killing Andrew Ryan and stopping the self-destruct, turns out Atlas has deceived you the whole time. But that's not all. Atlas reveals himself to be Frank Fontaine, Andrew Ryan's biggest adversary, who apparently has made a living being the biggest con man, and he plans to take all of Rapture's bounty and sell them to the world while he profits from their riches. Which unfortunately means he's going to kill you. After escaping, Bridget Tenenbaum purges the brainwashing and Jack heads to Point Prometheus to confront Fontaine. Unfortunately, he has already spliced himself up to the point of transforming himself into some sort of monstrous being that looks human, yet he isn't. In fact, he looks just like the Atlas Shrugged statue. Once you defeat him, he tries one last attempt to kill you, but all the little sisters come out and stab him to death with their atom needles. Now remember when I said that how you get the atom affects the ending? Well, there are two endings to the game, one bad and one good. The bad ending is that Jack becomes corrupt by the atom and kills all the little sisters. Then the game cuts to a nuclear submarine under attack by splicers, subsequently making Jack the new ruler of Rapture. But in the good ending, you save all the little sisters and return with them to the surface so they can live normal lives. And it is a rather touching scene when our hero is seen later on his deathbed, surrounded by the now grown-up little sister as the game fades to black. Now here's what matters most to me in a game. Is it worth playing through again? For me, video games are something that should be played again and again, yet the experience will never wear off. Otherwise, what's the point of owning that video game other than to have it collect dust? So with that in mind, how does BioShock hold up? Playing this game is like watching a great film that was written by Ayn Rand. I love walking through the city and exploring every nook and cranny just looking for the audio diaries for its lore. And the more I see Andrew Ryan's character, the more I appreciate him as one of my favorite villains in video game history, and listening to his monologues is absolutely marvelous. In the end, this game is nothing short of a classic for the 360 and PS3. BioShock is one amazing game. The atmosphere is immersive as it feels like you're in an actual underwater city. It feels so gratifying to have a shotgun on one hand and a fistful of lightning on the other. But it's the story and characters that leave a lasting impression, especially Andrew Ryan. And as for me, playing this game again and again makes me appreciate the time and effort that was put into this. And it just gets better every time I replay it, as if I actually find something new I haven't even noticed. And I hope you guys do too. That's why, dive in and get this game. You won't regret it. That's all the time I have for you all today, and thank you so much for watching the Moonspirit Experience. And if you're wondering, I do plan to review the second game and Infinite, but that's only if you guys can make this show successful. Until then, I'm Moonspirit saying good night.